have you digested everything that's happened around the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Um, yeah, I've digested it for sure, Darren. It's been a really busy week. There's no question. But when you're operating this many teams in an organization the size of MLSE, I kind of knew what I was getting myself into when I came back from Europe. So I've digested it. But these decisions as last week are never easy, and it's not something that really cherish doing for obvious reasons.
How difficult was last Thursday?
From a personal level, it was very difficult. From a professional level, it was the right decision to make. I think I've worked so closely with Brendan. I have a ton of time for him. He's a man of great integrity, and he has rebuilt the franchise. If you go back and you take a look at it prior to him coming in where we are now, and how many playoffs that we've made. And competing at the level we have. So it was difficult from a personal level. It was easier from a professional level, and it's really the challenge, John, is always separating them, and that's where the difficulty comes in.
If the team had got to the third round, is the decision different?
Well, as I say, I don't speculate on hypothetical situations. That's not what happened. Unfortunately, in Brendan's 11 years, we didn't get to a conference final.
Right.
And we all know when we get into the world of sport, different than the world of media, it's about results. And I remember having this conversation some time ago with Brian Burke when I was running Rogers Media and he was running the Toronto Maple Leafs, and saying, we have pressure jobs, Brian, but we have completely different jobs because yours are so tangible in terms of the success. Yours are about wins and losses. Staying on, making sure you stay inside the cap room, and how you deal with the media in terms of the reputation for the brand of the actual organization. And they're very, very tangible. And that's what this is. This is a result business. This is about wins and losses. And even the conversations that I've had subsequently to what transpired last week, some of the people that I've talked about say that is the minute that you get into sport, and the minute that you get into even my role here is about wins and losses and about running the business efficiently. That's it, right? That's how I will be judged by our owners, and that's the way it is for general managers and coaches, and I think they all know that going in. So. I think Brendan is a professional, and he would have liked to have stayed and continued, because he thinks we're obviously on the right track. But at the end of the day, the results are the results.
Why do you think it didn't happen a third round? Was there a particular area that fell short?
Well, you're probably better to answer that question than I am, but because you guys probably look at the stats even closer than I do, right? Obviously they had 60% of the offensive zone possession through the series, and they're a very, very good hockey club. So, that would be a question to ask. Better to ask Brad or Chief. But you and I watched the exact same series, Darren. I could turn around and ask you the question. What is your thought on that?
Because and I asked the question because you
hold on. You got to answer Keith's question.
You got to answer.
You got to answer Keith's question.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Come on, he's a media guy. You got to ask the question. Answer the question.
Before, no, I thought that there was critical moments. That's where things fell short, and that's unfair because there's lots of critical moments. But they really did seem to feel the weight of those moments. Is that too deep and thoughtful and less stats?
Yeah, I think that would be, again, that'd be a better question for the players or for the coaches and so forth. I would say that we made strides this year, right? There is no question that bringing in Craig Berube was a move that changed the hockey club. Brad and I have discussed this, and the moves that he made to bring in guys like Chris Tanev, guys like OEL, guys like Anthony Stollers, guys like Steve Lorenz. It changed the makeup of the hockey club. So the combination of Brad and Craig Berube changed the makeup of the hockey club. But and hopefully they will build on that. I have the utmost confidence in both of them. I've spent a lot of time with them over the last 48 hours, as you can imagine. But listen, sports is about sports. Sports isn't easy, and it's about winning, and the National Hockey League, has certainly. Of not of all the leagues, but because every league is different in terms of the way that they have their salary cap and the way that they have tax levels and so forth. But the competitive balance in the NHL with an 88 million salary cap provides exactly that competitive balance. And the Atlantic Division is a tough division to come out on top. We came out on top of the Atlantic Division, but unfortunately just didn't get to the next level.
So you, in your press conference last Friday, you said you were going to have dinner with Brad on Sunday night. How deep would the discussions get with Brad even at that point, or was it just a superficial discussion of saying, hey, we've got to work together in the future?
Well, John, I don't think anything's ever a superficial discussion. I think we obviously the discussion and the conversation is private and confidential. But I can tell you that Brad and I and I have a tremendous amount of respect for Brad and tremendous amount of respect for Craig and. No, there was. I would characterize the conversation with very little small talk.
How different do you see a managerial style without Brendan in the room versus with Brad?
I think like a lot has been made of that, and if you study different organizations and you study different leagues, and there's not a right and a wrong way to do it. Every organization has a different structure, and every organization has different titles, and different titles at the top, different titles, in middle management, in senior management, and different roles and responsibilities. So I see that the only fundamental difference is that from a hockey perspective, this will be Brad's team.